Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. January is flying by, isn't it? Quite literally. Scary thing is, I'll probably be rocking back and forth in a nursing home talking about the good old days where I used to host a daily tech podcast before I even know it at this rate. But hey, we're not there yet. And today I want to tackle the topic of IoT, the Internet of Things. Remember when your home network had just a laptop, a phone, maybe even a tablet connected? Now we're surrounded by things with an always online connection, and they can be your TV, toaster, light bulbs, games consoles, wearables, washing machines, fridge freezers, and the list goes on and on. And here's a question for everybody listening. I'm quite curious on this one. When was the last time you actually counted up exactly how many devices are currently connected to your home network? So I'm going to give you a bit of homework. I want you to log in at some point and check and email me techblogwriter@outlook.com or send me a cheeky tweet at Neil C. Hughes and let me know how many devices. I'm interested in what kind of figures we've got there all over the world. Because the Internet of Things is not just another buzzword. It's here and it's surrounding us everywhere we go. So I decided to get an expert on here to explore the topic further. And Ed Kuzemchak, he's the CTO of Software Design Solutions and also a respected expert on the Internet of Things. As an embedded software thought leader, Ed is also well versed in the challenges and the pitfalls of actually designing intelligence into objects. His experience across multiple industries has afforded him unique insights that I'm hoping he's going to come on and share today that will help companies looking to create, update or improve their own IoT technologies. And Ed has also been a guest speaker at the IoT Summit, Internet of Things Worlds, IoT DevCon, Sensors, Midwest 2018, World Congress 2018, and also blogs regularly for Software Design Solutions. He's also appeared on many other podcasts, but not this one. Until now, so let's put that right. Buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to the greater Pittsburgh area in the US so we can speak with Ed about the Internet of Things. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Ed. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Oh, thank you for having me, Neil. My name is Ed Kuzemchak, and I'm here at Software Design Solutions in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the States. And our company is an embedded system software consulting company. Specifically, we work in the IoT space, a lot of everything from building the embedded sensors, hardware design, embedded firmware, gateways, all the way up to the cloud and doing data analytics up on the cloud. You know, our customers are a wide variety in industrial space, in medical devices, oil and gas, transportation. So a lot of the places that are really starting to embed a lot of intelligence out at the edge, gathering data and sending it up to the cloud. That's generally where we've been involved in for the last 5 or 6 years.
Now, one of the reasons I invited you on the show today is because you're well versed in the challenges and pitfalls of designing intelligence into objects, and you've got experience across multiple industries. So can I ask you to share your unique insights for anyone listening looking to create, update or improve their own IoT technologies?
Sure. I mean, a lot of our customers, they already have electronics out at the edge, but what they might not have yet out at the edge is intelligence. So they might have sensors in an industrial piece of equipment, and industrial piece of equipment, they've had sensors and SCADA systems and closed loop control systems for the last 30 years. But what they're trying to do now is trying to make those systems more efficient. They're trying to reduce the maintenance on those systems. They're trying to get better visibility into the running of those systems. And so when they start down that path, I mean, they can very easily get overwhelmed by folks that are just piling all kinds of information on them about machine learning this and artificial intelligence that. And what I asked them to do is kind of step back and try to say, okay, the system's been running now for 30 years. What of that is working well? And what of that could you improve if you had a little bit more visibility, a little bit more responsiveness, a little bit more data, and kind of break through that overwhelming wave of folks who are trying to, have their sensor, which is perfectly happy being a fairly dumb sensor, be a little bit smarter, not be the smartest sensor on the face of the earth. And I think that is, that's the key. That's the key first point that we work with people on, is figure out what's working well, what would work a lot better if they just had a little bit more data, and to take that first step in their project.
Now, you've been a guest speaker at many of the top IoT events. So as someone that frequents all these events and involved in a lot of conversations with business leaders and thought leaders, are there any big trends that you're noticing around IoT right now?
Well, certainly security and IoT has been over the last several years a very big trend. Obviously, if you're starting to put these objects up, objects that are deeply embedded in your business process, objects that are deeply embedded in your industrial system, and you're starting to connect them to the network, security is a very important piece of that. And that is why, both SDS and our sister company, Applied Visions, why we have on board Insight here, certified security experts that can help us with the early design, help us with the fleshing out of all of the security across the system. Even when you go to the cloud, we can do review there and make sure that system is secure. The other side of it that we're seeing is this trend in the pervasive communication that is now available reasonably inexpensively. And I'm talking about Cat-M and NB-IoT, as well as the LoRa and the Sigfox and those types of wireless protocols, where you don't now have to pay the equivalent of a full cell phone bill just to get a little bit of data up to the cloud. And I think that's going to, over the next several years, that pervasive communication for small amounts of data at a very reasonable price is going to change the face of IoT.
Now, I also read a great article from you last year about looking beyond fashion and how smart fabrics are also changing the game across industries. I mean, can you expand on that for people listening that have not read the article? Because I think that's just one particular area where you don't automatically associate with technology, but all that's going to change, isn't it?
I've seen a number of very interesting things at these IoT events where folks are taking embedded sensors. And you think of sensors, you think of a hardware board, the little green bakelite kind of board with some chips on it. And they're kind of turning that on its head and saying, look, we can start to embed some of these things in wearable, washable fabrics. And I've seen everything from, the kinds of high-end sports gear that you might think of, and that's fine, but even a very pedestrian kind of thing about, look, when someone comes home from having a surgery and they need to go into rehabilitation, they can wear this device that is just a shirt or a brace or whatever, and it can remind them to do their exercises, do them correctly. It can monitor that they are doing them to catch compliance kinds of issues where, look, you're not doing your exercises, you need to do these to rehabilitate and help them through that process. I think that, having this kind of embedded sensors just to monitor, the well-being of people. I think that wellness is also another large breakout industry in IoT. We're going beyond medical devices, and we're now into these wellness devices where you have, the wristwatches that are monitoring all of your interesting vital signs and reminding me every once in a while to get away from my desk and take a little walk and, get a few more steps in.
So when I'm researching you, I also came across some pretty fascinating results as well about how the embedded software market is estimated at $11 billion alone in 2017. But more interestingly, it's forecasted to have a compound annual growth rate of more than 7% between 2018 and 2024. I mean, can you expand a little bit more on that? Because it's fascinating, isn't it?
Sure. I mean, one of the interesting things about putting these sensors inside of every little device that's out there is, when you start to look at the reasons why they're putting these sensors in there and the commonality that they're able to achieve with the hardware the hardware inside of your, your video doorbell in your house, and the hardware inside of your smart Wi-Fi thermometer, and the hardware inside of your smart garage door opener, those are all kind of similar. There's some sensors and some actuators and a Wi-Fi chip, but what differs a great deal from between all of those is the embedded system software. And that's the differentiator now. I mean, certainly there's been a lot of great work done in embedded hardware in terms of making it smaller and less expensive and very power efficient. And that has enabled a lot of these new uses where you can have, something that's out in the field doing sensing, and it may run for several years on a coin cell. But the difference between that sensor that might be sensing, pressures on a pipeline or vibration on a piece of equipment, the difference between those sensors might just be down to software. And so every single one of those sensors has slightly different software. And I think that embedded software market, SDS has been in the embedded software business since our beginning 15 years ago. And as we got more and more into the deep embedded, working with people trying to fit the most amount of capability into the smallest, most power efficient parts, that really is what led us into the IoT market, is because that's where the growth that we think is going to be.
So for any business leaders that are listening to our conversation today, how do you see embedded and IoT applications will increasingly become important to them and their business? And also, do you have any predictions of how that landscape could evolve in your eyes?
I think that there's a couple of industries where, that have taken IoT and embedded, early on. And those were the ones that could benefit greatly from the initial things that IoT could do for them, and that's the industrial kind of industries and those types of sensing industries where they already had sensors. I think that embedded and IoT will have a big impact in the quality of healthcare, which in both of our countries is a very big, important, very expensive piece of our GDP. And so as you start to try to improve the quality of healthcare without increasing the cost of healthcare, I think that IoT in healthcare is a place where these, not necessarily medical devices, but potentially just wellness devices, can help increase the amount of care given without increasing the cost, because you're starting to get data coming back from the consumer at a consumer level that doctors can use. You're starting to get data that the consumers can use themselves to help monitor, everything from their blood sugar level to their blood pressure, and all of those things that used to require doctor visits or used to require a lot of consultation.
So at Software Design Solutions, you guys offer software development services for embedded systems, workstation applications, interface design, and software process improvement. But can you tell me a little bit more about the kind of work you do and how you've developed applications for a variety of industries, just to help people listening visualize what you do?
Sure. And so as I mentioned, we started out in a lot of embedded system firmware type applications, or doing what I would call scientific desktop applications, visualization, embedded control from a desktop type of environment, any of those types of things. And as we got more into the embedded side of this and started doing some hardware design, we now do board builds, we do board designs, we build custom sensor boards for companies that come to us. And we work with our customers in a number of different ways. We may be just an adjunct to their team, where we bring part of their project in-house here. We're not the kind of folks that, we send somebody to your office and they sit there 40 hours a week. We tend to more like bring projects into our office and join with their team. And using collaboration tools like Slack, which is my absolute favorite collaboration tool, using a tool like that, we're able to be remote, but yet right as part of their team. We're in teams all around the world right now, using Slack, joining those teams on Slack phone calls or on screen shares and those types of things, right alongside other developers. Another way that we work is someone who doesn't have a software team or even a hardware team, but they have a product. We're in an industrial tool application right now where, the folks that are building the application, they know everything about building their product, but they don't have a hardware team and they don't have a software team, but they have a great idea. And so they come to us and we work with them and prototype their idea. And, they're getting ready to launch what's going to be a revolutionary product in their industry, to be able to monitor these industrial tools in ways that have never been done before.
And the IoT landscape is continuously evolving. It's incredibly exciting space, and we're just off the back of CES, where there's even more devices, even as far as I think the smart diapers are included, which is just insane.
Nice.
But I mean, what's next for software design solutions, and what excites you about the year ahead, and where the industry's heading?
Well, for us, one of the things that you'll see in 2019 is we're starting to take some of the things that we've done in terms of things that we've learned, things we understand about the industry, and we're combining them together. There's a lot going on right now with asset management. Being able to monitor assets out in the field, and the asset might be a truck, or it might be a valve on a pipeline, or it might be a dog in a doghouse. Who knows what an asset could be, and it could be anything. And we'll be putting together an SDS branded asset management system that we can easily customized for customers' use. And when we started to look at this, there were a dozen asset management systems out there, but yet a handful of our customers came to us and said, we've done the survey, none of them fit what we need. Can you build a custom one for us? And after building several custom ones, we said, okay, we're starting to see the pattern here, where if we can build a baseline system that we can customize for people, this is going to be important. So we can combine that with our experience in sensor design and start to build a full up system for people that come to us and say, we have a problem. We have this, remote system that if we just could sense a little bit of vibration, do a little bit of analytics on it. And that's the other side of what we're looking to do in 2019, is expand our footprint in analytics and machine learning. Because, as you start to get, more data from some of these systems, you can start to do some interesting machine learning and start to develop, an idea of what's going on with these systems just through machine learning.
I'm curious, though, as someone that's passionate about the Internet of Things and all the possibilities that are behind it, and as a result of that, you're going to need to experiment and see what works and what doesn't. Is your home full of sensors? Do you have any funny stories about little creations that you've tried?
Well, I do. I was actually just checking on my server room this morning. So I have a personal server room that's heated by the computers that are in it, interestingly enough. So yeah, we do have sensors there, humidity, temperature, and now that we have a nice cold, dry winter day here, I am cooling it from outside air. So we do have those types of things. But the other interesting sensors we have here are at SDS. Here at the office, we have sensors for flying around this building. And one of the interesting things about it is you get so much RF and so much 2.4 gigahertz kinds of stuff that you bring up your Wi-Fi, and it's like, okay, which one of these is even the thing I want to talk to, because there's so much other stuff going on here. I'm sure that we're the bane of the existence in the building here.
I love it. Well, before I let you go, can I ask that you remind everyone listening of where they can find you guys online, and equally contact a member of your team if they've got any questions after listening to our conversation today?
Well, thank you, Neil. So folks can find us at softwaredesignsolutions.com. There you'll find our website. You find a number of the blogs that we do. Of course, podcasts like this will be linked there as well. And also, that's where you'll find upcoming conference presentations. And as you mentioned, I like going out and speaking at conferences, talking about what we do in embedded systems and machine learning and those types of things. So they can find us there. You can find me on LinkedIn and link to me there. And we'll love to stay in touch with folks and talk about this industry.
Well, I'll have those links to the show notes just so people can find you nice and easy. But I think you've raised a big point there when you were talking about looking on your Wi-Fi network. And I'm going to put a challenge out to everyone listening. What was the last time that you actually counted up exactly how many devices were connected to your home network. And please email in and let me know, because I think it's something that we're all losing track of.
It's a crazy number, yes. I mean, my alarm clock is connected there, and so I get a nice report of how well I slept and how much I snore, I guess, too.
It's amazing, it really is. It proves that IoT is so much more than just another buzzword. We're surrounded by it now. But more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on and sharing your story with me today.
Thank you very much, Neil.
Wow, so many value bombs dropped in that conversation, especially if you're listening and looking to create, update, or improve your own Internet of Things technologies. And there are so many trends and also emerging areas such as fashion and smart fabrics. And I'm fascinated by how industries that you don't automatically associate with technology are embracing IoT and creating new ideas and new products by leveraging that technology. But of course, it will be interesting how the IoT industry continues to evolve and help other industries evolve too. How will that look? Over to you. I mean, come and join the conversation and share your insights, your expertise, and how you see that future taking shape. And as always, my email is techblogwriter@outlook.com. Twitter is @NeilCHughes, same as the Instagram. So Ed was another great guest and a podcast interview we battered out the park together today. If there are any other topics that you would love to hear more about, again, send me a message. But it's time for me to take my dog for a walk now, so a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.